Okay. Olga is a retired city judge that is part of Goshen's Ukraine community. Her mother wrote a book about the experience of her community moving to Goshen some years ago. Hi, my name is Aurora Villegas and I am a student at Goshen College. My classmates and I are taking a class called Latino Community Histories. I am conducting this interview on behalf of Goshen Historical Museum. Do I have your permission to record this video?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I want to start off by introducing Olga and her mother that are here with us. Olga, may you please introduce us to your mother, please?
My mother, Maria Hulevich, who's sitting to my right.
Thank you. Olga, what is your full name?
Olga Stickel.
When and where were you born?
I was born in Wiensheim, Germany, December 28, 1947.
What do you want to share? Why do you want to share this story?
Well, I think it has, I think my mother's story has a lot of meaning, and I don't think many people are aware of the kinds of events that she went through, partially because I sometimes think we don't really study much about other countries in this country, but also because at the time she went through them, there was an effort by Stalin to keep everything secret so that the world didn't know what was happening, and they didn't know what was happening. In fact, when people were starving, the Red Cross heard about it, and he turned everybody away so they couldn't come and help. So this, and part of this was also because we want our kids and our grandchildren to understand what their history is, what their background actually is. So we wanted this kept for the family as well.
And we want to know what communist is.
Yes, for her, she thinks it's important that the people in this country don't understand what communism and
Yes.
socialism is,
Yeah.
and she lived through it.
And that's why you want to share this story.
Yes. Yes, I want to tell so young people realize, understand, so they done what wrong, and we have over here socialists that have started in our country. Over there, start first socialist, communist revolution, and I have, course, big story. My grandpa used to say, when communists come, you not go and be in your house, they go and take away. And they did. They come and they lock our beautiful home, put us in a wagon and throw us in a mountain. Was snowing already. Some guy throwing hay and said, maybe you cover up your children. I was year old and my brother was 3 years old and my sister was 6 years old. And they throw us in a big mountain.
Well, I think, Mom, she's gonna get into this.
Yeah, I don't know.
She right now, she just wants to know why Chohoa te Koitila, this side. Cause this, I mean, she could talk forever about the history.
I want to write so young people know what socialist, communist, and how they do to people, so they read and they realize what America, beautiful country.
I have a question of that will get further from there. But thank you for sharing that. And I have a question for you now. Who has been the most influential person in your life, and what did they teach you?
Well, I went through these questions for her, so I didn't think you were gonna ask me questions too, but that's fine. I would say my grandparents, actually. And my grandfather was the best, the kindest person I've ever met in my life. And grandmother was an incredible woman to go through everything that she went through, and no one measured up. They were my heroes. And my grandmother had a compulsion to repeatedly talk about the things that she experienced. So we grew up listening to the stories and a sense of how unfair things could be. It's hard to, as a child, to believe that things could happen to other people that were so unfair, so and no one would help. And so there was a sense of empathy, a sense of knowing that there are things that happen in the world that are wrong, and then seeing how someone could survive that. I think they were the best examples in my life.
Thank you. Tell me more about yourself and what was your childhood like?
Jak tvoje dětstvo?
My childhood was terrible. I was hungry. I don't have no clothes. My grandfather digging them hole in the mountain, and they take my father.
It was dug out of the side of the ravine. About, how big was it, Mama? About 3 meters by 3 meters?
Something like this.
And they lived there for 7 years.
And I don't have no clothes and hungry.
And her father was taken.
To Siberia, and he don't do nothing wrong. He was a good Christian, and I was suffer so much over there. And this is kind of big story. I remember I was 5 years old when my neighbor her name was Sonia, and she got 2 little sister and father, and I was thinking how lucky Sonia, she got blue coats and shoe, and she got father and I don't have any. And they hiding 3 or 4 bag potatoes, and over there where I was born, the ground so soft and black.
It's the most fertile ground in the world.
Yeah.
It's very loamy. There are no stones in the ground.
I want to play with
It's
stone, I
just
cannot find.
Sticks will go right through.
And they come to KGB and KVD, with them stick. And when stick go easy, they know you hiding something. And they dig him 5 or 4 bag potatoes. And her father, Sonia, and her sister died couple weeks. And her mother her leg was so swell and busted skin and water run. And then my mom was in a house, in her room.
Well, it wasn't a house. They were also in the mountain.
Yeah.
In the dugout, had dug out a place to live for themselves because everything they had was taken.
So, and then baby was crawling. She got garbage because she cannot carry, and baby start eat and die. And this was terrible. And what more?
What more do you want to say about your childhood?
Oh,
How your mother had to. What did she feed you?
Oh yeah, they have collective farm, and they throw away them
Corn cobs after
Yeah.
they took the corn off the cob.
And my mom used to go and bring them, and somebody did for her from wood round thing, and she used to
To
smash.
pound the cobs
Yeah,
without the corn on
and
it.
she
to
make
try to
like
feed.
flour or something and mix. Sometimes she mix with leaves, or maybe she hide in someplace something they don't find, and she mixed and feed us. I remember when I was 5 years old, and lipa over the tree, and they said you can eat because leaves, because lots of people die from anything and they don't have no food. And when she make like dumpling, it was black like ground, and I said first one, and they were so
Bitter.
and it was terrible. I don't know how we survive. I know so many, and they come, and they come group, and they try to cut them thing.
The mallet and the bowl that she was pounding the cobs in, they wanted to break it
Yeah, they want to, and my mom looked down, and
on top of it.
she trying to save, and we jump, and we scream, and we cry, because we was little, I was 5 brothers, 7, and they just don't, they just left.
My grandmother wanted to protect that. I mean, it was one way she made some kind of food, and there was nothing else.
Sweet something.
So she threw herself over the top of it so they wouldn't break it.
Oh, this was just terrible when I was child. And I remember, cause when my father come from Siberia, but I have terrible time over there in the mountain, and they come almost every week, and if they find something, they take away from us.
Because you were supposed to starve. It was an artificial famine.
Yeah,
Stalin
I
was
have
killing these
signs.
people because they didn't want collective farms. They didn't want to give up their land. They were farmers. So he decided to punish them, and he took all the grains that were harvested
But
and stockpiled them so they'd rot. And people were,
who knows this?
well, I don't know, Mom, just so.
Yeah, and mostly like now, they try and
Hello?
kill them all Ukrainian people.
Hello? Just a minute.
No, that's probably.
Oh, forget it, okay.
Yeah.
But in fact, my 2 great-grandmothers went to the fields, after they harvested the grain,
Yeah.
and anything that fell on the ground, you were not allowed to pick up. It was supposed to rot, because he wanted everybody dead. And they had people on horseback looking to make sure that nobody was there, because if they caught you, you got prison.
We have 8 girls in our village. My mom said they was pick up them. What you call it?
The grains, the wheat grains.
They
from
fell already on the ground.
Yeah, it wasn't that, the wheat was already harvested. This is just what fell afterwards.
So they, 8 girls, they sent them to Siberia. They never come back because they was pick up them from ground, And it was terrible, my life. And what more over there was so bad when I live over there. I was so
Well, and you
scared.
had to take care of the geese and the goats for the village, for your part of the village. How
Yeah.
old were you, Mama?
I was maybe 7 or less, something like
So you started out with who said she?
No, not this gold.
Goat. Because then they would give her, why did you do that?
Because they give something to my mom, like maybe a little bit. This was I was a little bit older, about 7 or something like this already, But it was just my mom gets something. Every family give, and when they
The families, not the government or employer,
no,
but the families, if you took care of the goats,
this
would
was
give
later,
her
little
mother
bit,
something.
Yeah, this was a little bit later when already start little bit better. Not this year, like 1932, 33 was so
was bad, yeah.
And I remember one guy, he was a young boy, and they have on another side
Of the river.
mountain, and she was, and this boy was maybe 10, and he used to come and make for them bird cage
Mm-hmm.
from sunflower stick.
From the stalks of sunflowers.
Sunflower
Mhm.
stuff,
Made
yeah.
bird
And,
cages.
he's gone, he died, and them sister was 4 years old, and they find her in a wheat over there in mountain, something chew her arms. And now this neighbor, this was they have father, mother, 2 little boys, maybe 6, 7, and they have Marina, beautiful girl. She was maybe 15. I remember when she was walking and I look at her, and she got hair so long and blue ribbon over there. And
Sorry.
she died first. And they even have worse hole. We
A
have
hole in the mountain was worse, theirs was.
we
than
have
hers.
board
They had
where we
boards.
sleep as children, and they cut ground like this high, so that's where they sleep.
So her bed was on boards in this dugout, but these neighbors,
got
it was just the soil that they
they
formed
cut
into
so
beds.
high, and that's Marina died first. Then her parents both died. My mom said she walked in, and they both was dead over there in the ground, and she got her hands like this, and dropped couple drops blood. She was chewing her own finger because she was so hungry. And the boys, one went to his relatives, kind in a village, and she find some kind of food, give him a little bit, because he was starving. And at night he get up and he find them rest and eat because he was so hungry. At morning he died because he eat and he was so hungry. And now this one, he was walking to neighbor city, Rune, and he asked some,
To another city, yeah, neighboring.
maybe, I don't know, 12 kilometer or 10. And she put him sleep, and she kill him, and she start boil. And here neighbor come, and she know she don't have nothing to boil, and she call police, and they come and get her, and she ask, what they going to do to me now? He said, put you in jail. And she said, jail, I'm not scared. Maybe they give something to eat over there, but I'm scared. She said, God never forgive what I did. And so many things, same thing. My aunt, my mom, cousin, they used to dress up, go in church before communist takeover, and then little girl was 4 years old. She was chewing her hands, trying to get something to eat. It was just terrible. It was my hard life. I'm so happy we come to America, and God bless this country. I hope they never children know what I went through,
Well, then in Germany, they were put in forced labor because they left Ukraine just horizons of people you couldn't see because everybody's trying to leave, the communism, and so it took them walking to get to Germany. How long? You were about 14?
Yeah, that was 15. I just finished in June. No, June, where is my birthday?
July.
July. I was born in July, and in June we have to leave, June 8, 10. Anyway, I was so happy. I was thinking I see city, I go and see train. I was so happy. But when we start walking in the summer, our horse was, when we stay overnight, we sleep in the ground. And I was so happy seeing this country. They communists make so much propaganda how in America slave, but somehow I don't believe. And I used to be good in school over there. Poem, they put me and tell poem, but I was, I don't have no paper to write. I don't have no pencil to write. My mom cannot afford it to buy. She don't have no money, and not enough. And I was thinking, I wish I can be in this country. Even they put propaganda how in this country I like America slave or you Tim ox,
With ox and
Yeah, but I don't believe. And they used to be a long time in Ukraine some slave, I guess, and I used to tell poem
serfs.
about.
Serfs in the Russia and Ukraine, they didn't abolish serfdom until the 1860s when we abolished slavery here. So.
And my mom said, my child, this was better when slaves was.
When you were a serf.
Because you can work for them maybe 3 days and for you 2 days and you're not hungry. She said, Tan, I hate to tell poems, because this was about Stalin and I don't have no clothes. My mom maybe some coat, some kind with holes, and I think I'm not going to do this poem for Stalin and everything. So it's too many big story. I remember when I was in neighbor over there, they live close to the road, and they come, and I trying to run, so maybe 1 mile, and tell my mom maybe she have something so she can hide in some place. And some men ran after me, Because I was child, I was maybe 5, 6, year. And he come down, he cut me, and he hold me. It was a chuck, how you call it?
Like a stream.
Yeah, like a stream. He hold me by 1 arm and 1 leg, and he said, I'm going to drown you if you don't tell where them neighbor hiding them ghosts,
The goat?
Yeah, goat. And I was scared today. I'm sorry, I just pee and he let me go. So many scary things, I remember my brother and me was running over there in a mountain, and my brother pick up them bumblebee.
Honey, drone
No,
bumblebee?
them big one.
Oh, bumblebees, okay.
Yeah, and he opened and sucked them. He think he's got honey inside, And one time, it's a big story, maybe too long. Maybe you wanna get shorter.
No, it's fine. You can keep going.
And one time, they, after this year, a little bit, no, it was not better, but we walk about, I don't know, 10 miles or some less. And over there they said they give something to children. Jak ty itimaš u tomu u pšenici I verovat burjan.
If you go through the wheat field and pull the weeds, the children.
Yes.
So then the children, she heard that
But they,
you would,
my
you would get
brothers-
something, some kind of
Some
food.
kind of food. And so my brother and me, we went over there, and lots of was a little bit older children. And I was last one over there, and them koloski mene bili po
The wheat was getting in her
beat me
face
on the
because she was so
face.
small.
Because I was so small, you know. And my brother said, we wait for you, and you was wet like a chicken when I get out, you know. And I think they give us little fish, small, a tiny one kind, and a small piece bread, I think. And we was so happy, we just ran to our mama. I want a bite, but no, I want to give to my mom, show her, you know. She, many times she just cried, she just said, and I think I can do anything for my mom if she not cry, you know. And it's such a long story. Anyway, I think it should be last one. Anyway, what's happened one time, let's see, my brain don't work that right. Anyway, one time, oh yeah, my mom, she was 12, my sister, and she put her in another village, and they feed her over there, and she
sent her to a family to work,
yeah,
and because she would get some food.
yeah,
And she was 12 years old.
and she was crying, and my mom said, my child, if going to be so bad for you over there, I take you back, but at least you can eat bread over there, and we don't have no bread. And the man used to say they belong more to Communist Party, I guess. But he said how good she was when they eat, and he look at glasses, she get up and bring him water because she knew he want a drink, you know. And one time, my mom and another two women, they went on the field and pick up them koloski.
Ti šopale, čini.
Huh?
Ti
Yeah, tisopali,
Yeah,
sure,
the
it's
grains
ground
that-
already.
The grain that had fallen off the
Yeah, they
wheat.
already
Oh, they already had plowed it over. Not only did they all this wheat that they harvested the wheat and they plowed the field over, but they were going to try to find what was left in
fell
the ground.
over there, but they don't let people even they preorevali.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's happened, 3 women was over there, and Žilin was agronomy in our village. Agronoma, I don't know what this kind of position.
Što, načalnik?
Agronom was something with, I don't know, I was too little and I don't understand. I know the name was, his name was Želin, and agronom.
Well, he had some kind of authority in the village.
Yeah, and one night somebody knock and cry. We have in this mountain, we have a high little glass. It was mushroom growing all over, and I can even see over there. And somebody knock in the door, and Mama opened, and here comes Želin, that sky. Did I tell you, they 3 women was on the field, and he catch them, pick up from ground and write them name, and wrote them her name and them neighbor's name, you know. And he come at night.
So he wrote your mother's name too.
Yeah, and them 2 women name. And Manjure, was lived by kind,
It's the name of the family, Manjuri.
yeah, Manjuri, by road. And I have to think because, you know, I'm get so old.
Iжилон пришел.
He come to them, parents was not home, and he asked him little girl if she take where mama live, when my mom lives, because she was kind pretty and young, but she don't have even breasts, she was so skinny, you know. And when mama opened door, this was Zhilin, and he said to this little girl, you go and feed my horse and I go and sleep over here. And we lay down on a board, and it's such a small place, and he take a bottle of vodka, and they take everything in the home what we have. We have 1 cup from Snaryad, ammunition kind, one like cup from ammunition made, you know.
Made out of ammunition,
So, yeah,
a cup.
yeah.
Mhm.
And he put vodka, and he said, drink to my mom. And mom said, I'm not going to drink because she's so skinny, she go and die anyway. And when she moved, because this place so small, she pinches because we don't get up, we sleep hard. And when she moves so close, she pinch by, and we get up and we start crying, and he see nothing going happen. So he told my mom, take him to this Manjuri where is his horse. And mama and my brother, it was kind cold and he didn't have no shoe and he got sore on his feet. They take him over there, and at morning my mom niece come and she laughed. She hear about how you sleep with Zhilin, and mama said, yeah, it's fun for you, but how I'm scared to death. And she went back, my mom, somebody was walking from Nadas mountain, and when they see somebody, they said, who's walking so early? And here, mom come in and trying, she didn't even have food over there, she got some kind of weeds and burn something from break, little like stove, and somebody knocking the door. My mom opened door, and here come my father from Siberia. And he was sleeping in her uncle village. He said if he knew he was here, he was scared of blood. He fainted if he see blood, but this way he said, if I knew, I come and kill him, you know. Anyway, they, couple days, they called my mom in the court, and my mom said, you go and be with children, and they go and send me to Siberia, you know. A whole year was court. They said, Turchin, my mom, last name, was cut in.
For the wheat. Cut.
Yeah, but there was no wheat.
There wasn't any wheat at that time, it had already been harvested.
Yeah, and he just lie, and whole year they said who see them, who know them. So children, when he was in our this room, and bring them children, bring my brother, and my brother tell him how they used to take care of him, so he was drunk, he don't fall down, and they kind teach.
They had to hold him up when they would.
Yeah,
he
and
was so drunk.
teacher I think was there, and some. So on the end they said Turchinova, that's my last name, was Turchinova Žala Kolostya. Where but суд без последствий.
Well, the court found that yes, she harvested that wheat, which of course was fake because it wasn't any, but there's no resolution in this.
And he take from all them neighbor Manchuria code one they had.
That Julien.
Yeah, he take. Oh, honey, I can tell whole day the story and never finish.
You're fine.
But you probably have to eat yet.
We still have more questions to ask.
I know.
Thank you for sharing us your childhood. But now I would like to listen to Olga's childhood.
Well, when my memories, I have a faint memory of coming over on the boat. I was 2.5, 3, and I just have one faint memory of that. And then we moved to Newark, New Jersey, and we lived really in a slum neighborhood that's been demolished since then. And it was, early 1950s.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting neighborhood because it was completely integrated. Across the street, black families lived, and then in our street, there were not a lot, but there were several couples that were black and white. And then we had an apartment on the second floor in the one apartment. That wasn't the first apartment, but the one apartment building. And we moved in there. I mean, it was slummy. I mean, it had cockroaches and mice. And after we were there for about 6 months, my grandparents came, and my mother went to work and my father went to work. Well, no, Mom was home. Father went to work, grandfather and grandmother all went to work.
I was pregnant.
You were pregnant with my sister, yeah. And so, we lived in this, and I didn't speak English initially at all. When I was 5, I went to school, and yeah, well, we had, on the 3rd floor, there were 2 sisters and a brother that lived, and they had mental issues. So most of the time, my mom was with us, but this one time she left me with my baby sister while she went down half the block to the grocery store to get some groceries. While she was gone, these people that were constantly fighting had gotten into our apartment and were fighting in our apartment. And so that it was, for me, my childhood seemed to be fine. I had my grandparents, I had my parents, and I think that's.
And you didn't go what she went through?
No, I didn't go through what she went through. I mean, I know that my family was very, they ate potatoes and rice, but to me that really didn't have an impact on me at all. I didn't feel deprived. I mean, I didn't get toys or things like most. We couldn't afford to buy anything because they were saving their money. Things that made an impression on me. My grandfather worked. How far away did he work from home?
I don't know, a couple.
And sometimes he would bring ice cream because it was like didn't he sweep floors in the restaurant?
Yeah, he was working in a factory,
Yeah.
Restaurant.
And sometimes he would get some ice cream they had it there, I guess. But he would walk home.
So
he would walk home.
Save dime.
Because it was a dime for the bus. And he would give me the dime when he, just so I would have it. He'd say, here, this is for you, so when you go to school.
Honey, what I want to say.
But and my father did that too. I mean, he didn't give me the dime, but he saved his dimes. He walked 10 blocks.
We want to have car, or when we come here, we don't We don't ask for help, and we have $5, and we was happy to be in this country, freedom. We didn't even ask like now people, welfare this, you know.
But then we moved to Goshen.
We
Yeah,
have,
because I started school there, and then when I was 5, we moved to Goshen,
mhm,
and we lived in an orchard. Well, we moved and stayed with a family in Goshen, Pewashkin family,
a couple
while we
months.
were building a house. But my grandfather had built a little shed in the orchard, and so in the summers, he and my grandmother and I would sleep in that shed up in the orchard, and I thought that was good. That was fun.
Yeah,
And then they had the frame construction, but they finished the inside of the house themselves. And
I got it cow and milk.
yeah, we had our own cows, and my grandmother kept a garden,
Yeah,
and my mother went to work at IXL. So my mother and father were working, and my grandparents stayed home.
they was old kind, you know, but my mom pray every day for this country. She was happy because over there they shot her to the
Yeah, she was
west,
shot.
and they shot my little aunt, my father sister. She was 12, and she said, "Let's hide them, let's hide them," and they kill her. Well, this can be whole day story.
I thought people were welcoming and helpful for the most part, but they didn't you couldn't explain to them what you went through, because children it was outside the realm of the experience. It meant nothing to them, so I didn't talk about it because I didn't want people feel I was making up stories, and I knew they wouldn't understand it.
But where did you go to school? Like before you came to Goshen, where were you guys living?
In Newark, New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey. Okay.
But she was too young, they said.
When I got here, they held me back a year because of my age.
Oh, age.
And we want to get citizens so bad, but we have to live 5 years over here till we get citizen paper. And when we went over there, we think in Sauban, we think Olga's automatically get citizen paper. And
Well, I got mine too, but before we came, I had double pneumonia, no antibiotics, nothing as an infant, and
she
so she didn't know. Yeah, she didn't think I'd survive. But then and we were scheduled to go to South America from Germany, because America wasn't taking
Yeah,
refugees, DPs, until Eleanor Roosevelt went before Congress and asked them to raise the quotas. Then they started taking, because prior to that, they only took you if you had a relative here. But my problem was that I was sick, and you had to be vetted, and they
Pneumonia.
checked you out. So each time they did a medical exam on me, I was sick, and so they postponed our, departure, and that was what, 2 times that happened, Mom?
Yeah. Oh, last time you was throw up and some.
But yeah, because you couldn't just come,
Yeah.
they made sure that you were healthy and
And she don't eat nothing in a boat, and we was 21 days in a ocean.
because I was very seasick.
And this was in October, and ocean was really bad. And when I have to tell this, when we come to 21 days, we was in the ocean, and when we come close to New York, and I see them statues of liberty, my tears come way down. I was so happy. I'm freedom now.
Because she was put into forced labor in Germany at 15. She had to milk 14 cows by hand
And clean them.
and clean
And
the
they don't
stalls.
feed me. They don't give me breakfast, only they give like hard bread and coffee, and I never drink coffee before in my country or anything, and I carried with him a cow on a field and put some red beets on it and a cold kind, and I cry day and night. I think I was suffering communist, now I suffer in Germany, and I was young girl, and my mom was separated.
Yeah, they separated my mother and
your father.
my step grandfather, because her father was executed,
Yeah.
and her
The
mother.
Yeah, she was kind riches, but she
The farmer's
they
wife.
don't give me some
But-
food or pay. Anyway, what more?
Well,
Because we're gonna hold you whole day over here. I'm
So,
sorry. That's my big story.
so that was a big influence. I mean, just knowing my grandfather was, you know, I'd wait for him to come home and he'd give me that dime, and I had a bank made out of a talcum powder container, and you know, but it added up.
When you in a college, you have in.
That was like $1,000 afterwards.
And she was in a college in Bloomington, and we drive in, and first stop, we stop in McDonald's. We think that's big deal, it's restaurant. See how we save, not like now people spend that money and they don't have no money, they on welfare.
Well, I mean, they worked in factories all their lives, but they accumulated on very small salaries, you
Yeah.
know, money and home.
And how many siblings do you have?
I have a younger sister who was born in Newark, New Jersey, and then I have a brother who was born in Elkhart.
And you're
So-
the only one that looks after your mom, or they also?
No, my sister comes out, I mean, she lives out of town,
Yes.
and my brother comes and does some yard work for her, and my son, actually right now, he's helping the most.
Yeah. But my
You have
God.
one child,
I have 3 boys.
3 boys.
To run to the restroom,
Her
excuse me.
son, my grandson, lovely grandson, he's eye doctor.
He's a doctor?
Yeah. I come here, I give something good to this country. Olga's judge, my sister, audiologist, my son, he's in health
your daughter.
department, he's manager over there. I really done, like I said, and grandchildren have nice school, and I telling you, because if I be there, my kids never finish, never. You have to belong to Communist Party, and they have special store for Communist Party. They have special clothes store, food store, but for regular people, when they send material, poor young girl, they wanna dress, they already evening time, they stay in the line whole night, you know, because I telling you, this just beautiful country. I hope my grandchildren don't have suffer like I did. I have so many memory like yesterday, you know. And I have over there them sign, you know, where I was hungry, them you can look if you wanna, you know, or make.
But it's kind of hard to keep her on track sometimes. But I think, you know, just having that background and the things my grandmother went through and told us about impacted my choice of careers too, so.
Remember you said
Okay,
you
let's answer her questions, because I think we're gonna be,
you wanna have citizen paper.
yeah, I know, Mom, that's.
I'm sorry, girls, you should come someday when you not so busy.
Oh, we don't have class, so that's fine.
So, I heard you went to college, you mentioned. So, what did you go to college for, and what did you end up doing for your career?
Well, I ended up I didn't really know what I was going to do. I had Russian language, political science, and then I went to I got a master's of library science, and then I went to law school and became a lawyer.
And you was pregnant with Jimmy.
And then ran for the judicial position. So I was a judge for Elkhart County, first for Goshen City and then Elkhart County.
How many years were you a judge?
For the city, 76 or 77 to 84, and then from 84, 30 years for the county. So altogether, probably about 35, 36 years.
We were told that there is a book that your mother shared the experience of coming
Yeah,
to
that's
the
the one you
United
got from the
States.
library.
Yeah. Can you tell us who's in the picture?
The little one up front, now you notice my grandmother made those clothes there. All the kids have the same material. They're the same fabric on all of them. And the little one up front is my mother here. How old were you, Mama?
A year old.
Year?
Year.
Maybe a little. And then that's her brother, who was next in line. And that's her sister. This is my grandmother, Fatina. And you see her embroidered shirt that's all cross-stitched. She wove all the linen. So she made the linen herself and then she embroidered it. And when she got married, she had what, 80 embroidered blouses that she, throughout her childhood, she sat and
They teach them when she was 7 years old, from 7 years old. Yeah, because this picture sent to
yeah,
me.
just let me finish telling her who everybody
I'm
is.
sorry.
And then this is my mother's father's mother.
No, honey, that's my dead mother.
That's what I just said.
Oh.
And she was a character.
That's
She was not Fatina. What was her name?
Fatina.
No,
Oh.
I forgot. All right, it's in here. Let's see.
I forgot. Anyway,
Milat.
what I want to say, this picture making Poltava when father was in Siberia, and she sent him this picture.
Yeah,
to
my grandfather was in prison, and then sent to Siberia, and my grandmother had this photograph taken and sent to him.
I even remember my father because 2 years he used to go to work dark and come home dark, and 2 years then they black car come and Cavadea, takes.
They just came in the middle of the night and took him away.
And I was 9 years old and I was crying and shaking like
The
this.
second
That's
time,
when they take my father and window was broken. My mom was crying loud. They call her morning in the office. She's not supposed to cry loud. And they kill him. We found out in America. They 2 years.
When we were in America, they didn't kill him in America.
Yeah.
When we were in America, we didn't know what happened to him. And
Yeah.
she didn't know what happened to him. And they killed him.
Story.
Yeah, they executed him, shot him.
They take him September 8, 1937, and October 25 they shot him. He was maybe 36 something, and he didn't do nothing wrong,
In this book, the title is how do you pronounce it?
Fatina.
Fatina's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and then it says, my journey from persecution to freedom. Where did the title come from?
Well, my sister translated my mother's memoirs, and actually she came up with the title. But Fatima's daughter is, of course, my mother, referring to my mother, because she's Fatima's daughter.
I never been in school over here. When we came, we have to go to work, buy some bread. I used to buy just bread, sugar, flour. I don't buy lots of stuff, she said, Mom, let's do this book. But when we start I talked and I start cry so hard, and we stopped. So take long.
So how long did this big book take to finish it?
Off and on, probably about 7 years.
7 years. And then when,
Just because, she lives out of town, so she'd come and work with her on it and try to keep her on on the issue.
And Olga, you forgot your citizen paper.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, Mom, they were asking questions, so let's answer their questions.
when was this book published? Do you know?
2017, I think.
Oh,
Look at the
so recently.
copyright book page, probably.
2016.
2016.
Yes.
Okay.
Has
Actually, I think maybe it was copyrighted 2016, but it didn't get printed until 2017.
Such a big story.
Yeah.
We was separated.
And then my mother and my son went to her village in 2011.
He was so happy. Last time he see me, he said, Baba, I really appreciate you take me over there.
and where was this?
That was my mom's village.
Oh, your mom's.
Yeah,
Oh, machine.
that's the name of the town there.
She kind village,
So we've also learned that there are two Orthodox churches across the street from each other. One is Russian and one is from Ukraine. Could you tell us why Could you tell us why this is? Like, why are there
Why they're separated? Well, there are actually several reasons, Mom. I think initially there were Russian people, Belarusian people, and Ukrainian people here. And initially they were going to try to do one church. But they didn't want it designated as either Ukrainian or Russian. But in the Orthodox faith, churches are ethnic. So you belong to a hierarchy of one or the other. Well, when they drew up the paperwork for the church, they made it a Russian church. And the Ukrainians weren't really happy with the fact that it wasn't non-ethnics. So then they started up their own church, and you have one thing about Ukraine is and it's going on now too, over centuries, they've tried to suppress the national identity. So under the Tsarists, you could not write in Ukrainian. And the Ukrainian national poet, Taras Shevchenko, was born a serf. He wrote, he painted, and when he was an adult, his friends were able to get enough money to buy him from his master, so he was no longer a serf. But he was sent into exile in part because he wrote in Ukrainian. When my mother went to school, there was only one child in her school that was Russian. Everything was in Ukrainian. Her family spoke Ukrainian.
The whole
But-
village almost speak.
But then they started, especially under the Soviets, they started bringing in Russian. Even though the nobility in Russia spoke French, Russian was the language they were trying to force on the population. And they were successful in part because the Soviets had complete control over where the population lived. So when I was there in '69, if you sent your child to a Russian preschool or kindergarten, it was free. But if you sent them to a Ukrainian one, you had to pay. So people, you know, who couldn't afford to pay sent them to the Russian schools. Then in the '70s, when I was in law school, the population figures came out of the Soviet Union frequently, and the Russian population kept increasing. So I think that there started even then being some conflict because it was an effort to make Russian, Russify the population. So the Russian population, especially in the east where she lived, was increasing, and now people spoke more Russian. And it was some of that, I think, some of it carries over a little bit, you know, but it was mostly because they each wanted to maintain their own separate identity, and the church structure, the hierarchy of the church, was separate depending on whether you were Russian, belonged to Moscow, or whether you were Ukrainian and not part of Moscow. So.
And you know, Stalin take so many million people to Siberia and bring Russian people population in a city, Ukraine.
Well, and when they starved all these people, there were whole villages that died out, so, you know, they just resettled them. But then they took Russians and Ukrainians and sent them to Estonia. So the Soviet government got to manipulate where the populations were, but that's off the topic. So I think it was just each had the Russian church uses still Church Slavonic. The Ukrainian church uses Ukrainian for the language.
So there are more than a religious difference?
There are some, yeah, but it's not really, the belief is the same.
Okay.
So it's not really a religious difference. It's,
But
you know, if
language.
you wanna go to the Ukrainian church, it's Ukrainian speaking. Russian church is Church Slavonic. I wouldn't be able to understand it very well. So there's a definite difference in language as far as what's, you know, used in the church, but in terms of the liturgy is the same regardless, so.
Our grandchildren, they mostly in English in church now, in our church.
Well, our church, uses mostly English, but some Ukrainian.
But Russian church belong to Moscow,
Yeah, I know, I just-
Patriarchate.
Mm.
We don't want to belong to Moscow. No way. I know some people, they stick up with Putin over here. I wish they loaded to the airplane and dropped them to Putin from America. They don't belong in America when they support Putin.
Now that you touched that topic with Putin, do you guys have any like family members that are in Ukraine?
We have, my grandfather, who's my grandmother's second husband, he has grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and we correspond and see them. I mean, they come and visit. And the one great-granddaughter lives in Kiev. Her husband's a journalist and teaches. And when the war started, they left for the west, certain part of Ukraine, because her parents live in the west, near Lviv. You've heard Lviv and Kiev on the news. So they live near Lviv, so right now they're in the western part. And Bogdan and Maria, my grandfather's granddaughter and her husband are,
One is over here.
no, that's Irene. But they've got a number of people now staying with them. You know, the daughter with the husband and the 3 kids, and then from my mother's, near my mother's village, Ti, hto od Ohtarke, či od Kumeši prišli?
Olena.
No, hto od village, ja znaju
You mean
Olena.
who's my relative?
Ja, що до Марії Богдана пішли. Ти казала,
Well,
чи от Комиші, чи от Дарк?
Did some relatives like cousins?
Yeah, I know, that's what she's asking. So they left, але де вони жили?
In Kyiv they.
No, ти що на...
In a village.
Yeah, і вони до Богдана і Марії пішли.
But this my stepfather children.
Yes, Mama, I know.
So
Well, це можеш мій вопрос, де вони жили?
Хто?
Ці, що прийшли до Богдана і Марії, втекли,
I
5
don't
днів
know if
ходили.
they come from my village, but from Kyiv they come.
I know,
Maybe
but
some
anyway.
of them. That's
So,
not important.
so in the, well, that's what she's asking about.
Oh, I see.
So, in her village, we got a report that 3 tanks were destroyed. Now, the village is only 800 people, so I don't know how, you know, whether it's true or whether that happened. But from that area, then there's some cousins that also went to the west to stay with
Yeah.
Bogdan and Maria, and
Now they drop bomb in Lviv. It's not too far from Maria.
yeah, I know, Mom.
It's in Russia.
But I was just trying to tell her where these people, and вона хотіла про людей знати, хто де. So,
We mixed up.
and then Sumy is a town that's not far from where she lives, and Kharkiv isn't that far either.
It's more close where my niece live, close to Kharkiv, you know. My sister girl
So,
live over there. I don't know.
so it's frightening. I mean, they're destroying,
The whole country.
yeah, and they're destroying things that you can't rebuild. I mean, Kyiv has some wonderful churches, and they have 3 churches that are, the country has 3 churches there near Kyiv that have underground caves where ancient monks are buried and preserved because of the, you know, the rock formation down there. And, you know, all these things you can't get back.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. But before we leave, I would like to ask, what is one of the happiest memories that both of you have?
Що тобі рад?
Mine was happy memory when I come to New York on a boat and then I see statues of
Liberty.
liberty. My tears just come down. I never, not this was when my dad come home, but he was kind of strange to me because I was little and I don't remember him. You know, that was, because I have another one when I was working so hard over there in Germany and Hungary. Then we got freedom, American soldier. They were so different than German soldier, you know. They give children candy bar. Then I worked for American soldier about 2 years.
And the first time you ate ice cream? The first time you ate
no,
ice
honey,
cream?
this when I walked to Germany.
Yeah, the first time you ate ice cream was
Yeah.
happy, right?
I
Tell
was
her about the first time you had ice cream.
we was walking every day. Sometimes we stayed.
Yeah, because they had to walk for almost 15 months. They
Yeah.
walked from
village to the Germany.
yeah,
And sometimes we stay couple a week.
because
But
they had to walk between 2 armies and try to stay
Yeah.
ahead of the fighting. And so they went down this way and up through Poland and over,
to
so,
Slovakia, we
yeah, I
wanna
think
go, they
there's-
don't let us go over there. Anyway, ice cream when we was walking to Poland in Krakow, capital, and my friend, she used to live in Kharkiv when they was over there. Anyway, she know about ice cream, you know. I didn't know, I never tasted ice cream. So when we come to Poland, to Krakow, capital, and she said, her name Maria too, she said, Maria, over there some lady bring ice cream in a bucket. She make them, you know. I said, what's this? She said, you go and taste it. And I was kind of hungry and everything. So we went over there and I don't know what kind of money we have or something. She put in a cup when I tasted it. Oh my God, I can eat whole bucket and be not now.
What flavor was it? Do you remember?
I don't know. I think vanilla. Doesn't matter what kind. I just
Just one
and it was kind of hot, you know. Oh no, I never eat in my life. Can you imagine? Grow up, no ice cream. I don't have now. I used to come to some people. Walk into Germany and knock to some people. And I was so shy from village, you know, I never been, I was not like now.
But you had to ask for food because
Yeah,
on the road, there, you know.
yeah, and I don't ask for bread or I ask for water and I was not thirsty at all and some
But she was afraid to ask for food.
kind shy too. And I remember it was wind blowing and snowing. And we just moved from Poland, and when I knock in the door and I walk in, I wanna ask for a little bit bread or something, and they have warm room, and they have little Christmas on the table, and I run out and I cry. How lucky people, they have warm room and Christmas tree on the table. Oh, honey, so many episodes, you know. Oh God, honey, too much already, huh?
And what was one of your happiest memories?
Well, we always celebrated Christmas, and we didn't get many gifts, but I wanted a train, which is I have a son that works in trains now. When I was in the first grade, and I got a train, and my sister got a little toy carousel wind up, but I wanted one of those kind of fancy trains. I got a little battery operated train. But I remember the train, and I remember in third grade getting a bicycle, and getting a doll with some clothes, but not too much. And besides that, they figured I wanted a Barbie doll, but I never got one because when you were in the fourth grade, you were too old for dolls.
And
So-
we don't have now money, we just try and build them home.
Now you can buy her a doll for Christmas.
Oh, my sister bought me 2 Barbie dolls one year.
Aww.
So, because I wanted those Barbie dolls. We had a neighbor that lived downstairs that was very nice, and she would sometimes,
Oh,
Helen, yeah.
she loved
We went to one of those TV programs. When I was a little girl, I was on a TV program. It was like the Peanut Gallery and Howdy Doody or something that she took us. So I remember that. Then my parents, even though they didn't have much money, I got ballet lessons, and my sister got piano lessons. So, that was appreciated, and I enjoyed that a lot. And just finishing law school was happy. Having my children was happy.
Oh. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. And thank you for your time. And we appreciate it. And this interview means a lot for us and for all the people that are going to listen to this video.
Well, good luck with,
Thank you. You interesting about, and you wanna look at them sign or
Yeah,
you?
I'll look at them.
Yeah, and so you don't have school today?
Yeah, we do.
this is part of their school, right?
Yeah, we don't